Good evening everyone. My name is Rajkumar Vanadosle. Today date is 20 July 2021. Today's video topic is exception handling. Let's see what is mean by exception. Exception means abnormal condition. Exception is an event that occurs that disturbs the normal flow of the program. Exception is an object that throws at runtime. Let's see what is mean by exception handling. Exception handling is a popular mechanism to handle the runtime errors so the normal flow of the program is maintained. There are two types of exception. First one is checked exception and second one is unchecked exception. Let's see in details. First is checked exception. The class directly inherits the throwable class except the runtime exception or error is called as checked exception. The examples are class not found exception, IO exception or IO exception or SQL exception or remote exception. Then second type of exception is unchecked exception. The class inherit the runtime exception is called as unchecked exception. There are examples of unchecked exceptions are arithmetic exception, then null point exception, array index out of bound exception, string index out of bound exception. The keywords which is used in Java for exception handling are following. First keyword is try. Try block is used to in try block we should place the exception code. The try block which must be not try block. That there are in try block. Try is a keyword used to specify a block where we should write the exception code. The try block must be followed by either catch block or finally block. The try block cannot be try block cannot be used alone. Next keyword is a catch keyword used to handle the exception. The catch block is must be preceded with a try block, and after that maybe followed by finally block. And then next keyword is finally. The finally block, the important code is right on the finally block. It exception handling. It is not mandatory in finally block. It is not important the exception handle or not handle. The finally block must be executed independent upon the exception handle or not handle. Then next is the throw keyword. The throw keyword is used to throw the exception. Then throws. The throws keyword is used to describe the exception. The throws keyword is not used to throw the exception. The exception may throws keyword describe the exception may occur. Then let's take one example. Suppose we want to there are 10 statement in our program, and exception occur in for fifth statement. Because of exception, the statement 6 to 10, the code will not run. If we handle the exception, the code of 6 to 10 is executed. This is the advantage or beauty of the exception handling. Let's take one real life example of courier company. If you want to give gift to your friend by courier, and because of abnormal unexpected error, your gift is not delivered to your friend. The courier company is handle that problem and send you a notification why not a delivery is occurred. This called as exception handling. In exception handling, let's take another example where in exception handling a try block or catch block is used. Int data in try block, int data is equal to 100 divided by 0. Followed by catch block exception arithmetic exception E, sys out E, the remaining code be executed because here is a arithmetic exception occurs. Let's see the scenario where the exception is occur. First is arithmetic exception. Divided by 0. If the in our program divided by 0 is occur, then the arithmetic exception may occur. Take one example. Enter data 50 divided by 0. Exception is arithmetic exception. Then the second is a null point exception. If we have given the null value to any variable, that the exception occur is a null point exception. Then third is a number format exception. If we want to store the wrong in take example, there is a string. If we want to store in a string the integer values, then the exception occur is a number format exception. Last condition, the scenario where the exception may occur. The last is the array index out of bound exception. In this, consider an array of size 5. If you want to store at a array of index 10 equal to 50, then the exception occurs is array index out of bound exception. Because of there are only size of array is 5 and we want to store the value at the array index at 10. Because of this, the exception occurs is array index out of bound exception. Similar to this, the string index out of bound exception is also occur. Because of some reason the exception may occur. Let's see that what type of reasons because of that the exception in our program is happen. If the user entered the wrong data, then like user is trying to divide any value like 5 divided by 0, then the exception may occur is arithmetic exception. Then second reason, if the user tries to open a file with an invalid name, then third is if user tries to access an array with a negative index value, then also exception is occur. Then last is if user tries to print a page but the printer does not find, then the exception may occur. And class not found exception may also occur if you want to search in invalid class. Then exception occur is a class not found exception. Let's see the difference between checked and unchecked exception. The checked exception, the error occurs at the compile time, and in unchecked exception error occurs at the runtime. Examples of checked exception is class not found exception, and example of unchecked exception is array index out of bound exception. Let's see when we use try and class block. If our code is risky, then we must use the try block. For that code, we can use multiple catch block for single try block, but we cannot use multiple try block for a single catch block. We can use a try block followed by catch block or finally block. Let's see some important points to remember in an exception. In a method, there can be more than one statement that might throw exception. So put all these statements within our own try block to provide separate exception handler within one catch block for each of them. Then for each try block there can be a 0 catch block or multiple catch block. In exception occurs within the try block, there we can use a nested try block or for that exception handler associated with it. To associate exception handler we can use the finally block is optional block. They must be executed independent upon exception occur or not. The final block is executable. The final block is optional. Therefore, the final block is optional. If the exception occur in the try block, that exception is handled by the exception handler associated with it. the association exception handler, we must put catch block after it. There can be more than one exception handlers. Each catch block is exception handler. So thank you. That's all about today.